Hey, y'all, we have about 5 minutes. So I'm technically live, but technically not. I have to do some other stuff real quick. I had to do a little extra stuff. So I apologize for that. Let me do this real quick. There. Mm-mm. Well, okay. Let me do this one thing. We'll take this off now. It's just 2 minutes. Hey, y'all, we have 2 minutes before the live is actually about to start. I am going to real quickly forward this, or share it, I should say. And then we'll get started. Give me just a second, y'all. Let me see. Oh, look, there I am. Okay. Okay, so now that I've got that all set up, hold on, let me just keep this going. All right. I'll keep that down all the way so I don't get any feedback. Let me get my notes. Actually, let's scooch that back just a bit. Okay, everyone. Oh, hold on 1 second, y'all. Yeah, that's good. Okay, whoops. Hello, everyone. Hello to the live stream viewers. Hello to the replay viewers. Welcome to Lovely from the Library. Or actually, that's not it. It's Lovely's Digital Book Club. I am Lovely from the Library. The only digital book club for Pueblo City County Library. It's a book club for busy people, for introverts, for people who might be immunocompromised and COVID conscious, but still want to participate. This is a book club for everybody. So before we jump into the book that we're discussing today, I'm going to explain to you how the book club works. So since this is a virtual book club, we actually don't meet in person. We do everything online. If you want to know all the books that we're reading for the year, you'll sign up for the newsletter, and I email out on an average about 2, maybe 3 times a month to let you know what's going on and show you some books that we may have read in the past to keep you caught up. I check in once a week with y'all. We talk about where we are in the book. We talk about some of our favorite parts. And then on the live stream, everyone's welcome to join in. If you ever want to join and be on screen with me, you're more than welcome to do that. If you just prefer to chop it up in the comment sections during the live stream, you can do that too. And like I said, those of you who are very busy and can only catch the replay, you can do that as well. I really appreciate the replay viewers for making the time. And I always answer all the questions that y'all put into the Facebook page. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Now, today, the book that we are going to be talking about is Crying in H-Mart by Michelle Zauner. Now, before we jump into this book, I do have a few announcements, so let's get to it. Oh, sorry, y'all. Let's do this. There we go. All right, so announcements. Number 1, Pueblo City County Library is having hold on, let me make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Is having a women's mini conference. It's going to have the kickoff on Friday, March the 22nd at 5 o'clock. They're going to be showing a movie, a film screening of ovarian psychosis. And there's also going to be a complimentary bike ride. That sounds like a lot of fun. And then the signature event is going to be Saturday, March the 23rd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We have a whole host of awesome speakers, including, let's see, Danae Escobar, Kimberly Sewell. Hi, Kim. She used to work here at the library. Hey, Kim. A fantastic artist here in Pueblo. And all the other speakers are amazing as well. So please stop on by if y'all have time for that. Scan the QR code if you'd like more information on that event. Also, since this book's topic is mainly, well, it deals with food, did you know that the library, you can check out spices from the library. Lucero Library has a spice library. You're allowed to check out up to 5 spices a day. I believe they're also having a spice mixing class, I think tomorrow, actually. Check the events page at the library. That's PuebloLibrary.org. We also have a spice database. So you can put in a spice into this database, and anything that you want to cook, it'll pull up a recipe for you as well. So between Lucero Library, the spice database, and all the cookbooks that we have at the library, you are set and good to go. Pardon me. And last but not least, if you are wanting to meet in person, there is a book club here at Lamb Library. Actually, there's a book club at all the libraries, but specifically here at the Lamb Branch Library, we have the Horror Cafe meeting on the 4th Monday of the month. The next meeting they're going to be having is March the 25th at 7 p.m. And it's The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling. They serve lattes, they serve snacks, and they serve a little bit of a chill. So if you're in for some thrills like that, please come by. They'd love to have you. All right. Now, let's get into our discussion. So today we are going to be reading Crying in H-Mart by Michelle Zauner. So let's talk a little bit about her. Michelle Zauner is best known as a lead singer and guitarist who creates dreamy, shoegaze-inspired indie pop under the name Japanese Breakfast. She has won acclaim from major music outlets around the world for releases like Psychopomp in 2016 and Soft Sounds from Another Planet in 2017. So Crying in H-Mart, the book, is a New York Times notable book of the year. One of the best books of the year. The New York Times, from one of the best books of the year from the New York Times, Time, NPR, Washington Post, Vogue, Entertainment Weekly, Good Morning America, Philadelphia Inquirer, Goodreads, BuzzFeed, and many, many more. Was also one of President Obama's favorite books of the year. One of the Smithsonian's 10 best books about food of the year as well. So tons and tons of accolades. And actually, as I've read this book, I can understand why President Obama really liked this book. It's a person who has also lost their mother at a young age. I bet he could really relate to a lot of the different topics that we're going to jump into in this book. Speaking of which, some of the themes and tropes, and y'all, just so y'all know, I know that tropes, the word gets a negative connotation. It just means allegory and metaphor, and that's the sense in what I'm using it here. So some of the themes and tropes that we're going to be discussing are going to be grief, gratitude, identity, cultural connection, the mother-daughter bond, food, and love. All right, so... Oh, you know what? Let me go ahead and read a little bit of the synopsis of this book so that those of you who haven't had a chance to read it can kind of know what we're talking about. Because I think even if you haven't had a chance to read it, which I encourage you to do so, some of these themes are just going to be universal. Actually, a lot of them are, because it is definitely about the mother-daughter bond and how that can, you know, be a good thing with some ups and downs, like a roller coaster, a thrilling ride that's scary even though you wanted to get on it. Okay, so when Michelle Zauner was in her mid-20s, working as a waitress and struggling to launch her music career in Philadelphia, she got a call that her mother was ill. She put her life on hold and flew home to Eugene, Oregon, to be with her mother through the final excruciating months of her battle with cancer. This is Zauner's searingly candid coming-of-age story of growing apart from and then back together with her Korean identity and forging her own path in the wake of devastating loss. With humor and heart, she tells of growing up Asian American, straining to meet her mother's expectations, moving across the country, and returning home to reckon with grief. She recalls treasured childhood holidays spent in her grandmother's tiny apartment in Seoul, and now in adulthood, learning to cook the Korean dishes that revive and nourish those memories. She savors the unexpected solace of weekly trips to her favorite Asian grocery store. Vivacious and plain-spoken, lyrical and honest, Zauner's voice is as radiantly alive on the pages as it is on stage. Crying in H-Mart is an exquisite debut, a book to cherish, share, and read. All right, so here, let me make these discussion questions, or this little small, because I'm gonna pop my head on here real quick. Let's see what we want to do here. We want to do this. There we go. Okay. So the reason why I picked this book is because I love H-Mart. Y'all know I am from Texas. I'm from Denver, really, but I'm from Texas too. And H-Mart is all over Texas. And one of the things that my mom did when I was moving to Pueblo about 10 years ago is my sister came over. and she threw a 20-pack of seaweed, seasoned seaweed at me. And she goes, Mom says here. And because I love seaweed, everybody in my family loves seaweed. And so we go to H-Mart and get all kind of stuff, not just seaweed. But one of the main things was, hey, I'm going to H-Mart. You want something? Yes, give me a pack of seaweed, because we'd be going through them like that. So that's how my mom would say, I love you a lot, through food, through actions, not necessarily out loud all the time, although she did that too, but more so it was through actions. And so when I saw this book and I read what the synopsis was, it just reminded me of when I was telling my parents, hey, I'm moving to Pueblo. And they're like, how you gonna get your food? Where you gonna get your seaweed? Because we didn't have an H-Mart. And they were like, what are you gonna do? So this book is phenomenal. It's very, very good. It talks about, again, the mother-daughter relationship. Identity is a huge part of this book, and food plays a major, major role in that. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of talk about how I picked this book, why I thought it would be interesting. Oh, happy Women's History Month too. That's another thing that I wanted to pick. Why I wanted to pick this book is to really kind of discuss women from different cultures. I think last year for Women's History Month, we read Memphis, which is a really, really amazing book too. And I wanted to look at the mother-daughter relationship from different identities and explore that a bit. And this book definitely does that. Okay, so let's jump into a few questions. So, hold on one second, y'all. I forgot. Let me see if I have my banner here. Oh, my name is not even up. Where's my little name? There it is. Okay. Now, there it is. Copy that, put it in your search engine so that you can get the newsletter and get all these insights that I'm about to dive into. Because as those of you who have, who this isn't your first rodeo, I like to do a lot of research and background to get background information on the book to help round it out so we all I listened to 2 of Japanese Breakfast's album. Let's start there. So Michelle Zauner has a lot of food references in her music. First of all, her band's name is Japanese Breakfast. And for those of you who've never had that, Japanese Breakfast, while it varies from region to region, it does consist of a few things: some steamed rice, maybe some grilled fish, definitely some miso soup, maybe some natto-ke, and some pickles, some sort of pickled vegetable, and some side dishes. Again, that's going to vary from region to region, but the name of her band is Japanese Breakfast. She has an album called Jubilee, but the artwork, some of the artwork associated with it is copied off of the Jollibee fast food chain in the Philippines. I thought that was really interesting as well. What else? Let me see. Yeah. And also, just a little side note too, their album Jubilee. I'm not sure if she did this on purpose or not, but I think she might have. There is a Chinese X-Men named Jubilee, the X-Men, the character from the Marvel comic books. Her name is Jubilee. Actually, it's Jubilation Lee. But so she did that too. So there's all these tongue-in-cheeks and nods to pop culture and food, not only in her book, but in her albums and her band name. So I really think that unless you're very familiar with Korean culture, a lot of people don't understand how important a role food plays in that culture. Some of y'all might be familiar with the term mukbang. You've probably heard people pronounce it mukbang. It's mukbang. And that comes from Korea. And what they would do in Korea is food and eating with your family is so important that sometimes people weren't able to eat with their families for various reasons. So folks would get online, they would cook food, talk to people while they're eating, and people would watch them on the internet, and they would eat food while we'll just call him a YouTuber, although they're on several different platforms, while the YouTuber is cooking and eating and talking. That way they didn't have to be alone. So that tradition of mukbang that you've probably seen on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and various other places online, that originated in Korea, and it came from the Korean culture of eating with your family and enjoying a mealtime and sitting down and really enjoying food. And if you've never been to a Korean restaurant, I promise you, you are missing out, baby. You need to go. They serve more than just fried chicken. And it's a big deal. Well, I don't want to say a big deal, but food is, the presentation is there. The atmosphere is there. It just makes everything taste really pretty and look really pretty. It's really, really nice. I love Korean food. It's one of my favorite cuisines. So anywho, I really think that even though in the book we learn Michelle does not always feel the closest connection to her Korean heritage, it definitely has influenced her in a deeper subliminal kind of DNA level that maybe she was not always aware of at a young age, but it's definitely there. So one of the things that she definitely struggles with a lot is her identity and her mother-daughter relationship. So let's jump into the first question. So sign up for the newsletter, y'all, so that you don't miss out on awesome, cool things. Let's get these questions going. We're gonna do this. Yes. All right, so discussion questions. I'm going to make this big so that we can see it. All right. So let's go with question number 1. My mother was always trying to shape me into the most perfect version of myself. What do Michelle's mother's habits and beliefs reveal about her as a mother? What do you value? What value do you see in her approach to parenting? What would you do differently? So I'm going to go to page 18 and just read a brief synopsis so you can understand what's going on. My mother was always trying to shape me into the most perfect version of myself. When I was an infant, she pinched my nose because she was worried it was too flat. In my elementary years, she feared I was too short, so every morning before school, she'd instruct me to hold the bars of my headboard and pull my legs in an effort to stretch them out. If I furrowed my brow or smiled too widely, she'd smooth my forehead with her fingers and instruct me to stop making wrinkles. If I walked with a slouch, she'd push a palm between my shoulder blades and command, "Uge pikgu," shoulders straight. She was obsessed with appearances and spent hours watching QVC. She phoned in orders of cleansing conditioners, specialty toothpaste, and jars of caviar oil scrub, serums, moisturizers, toners, and anti-aging creams. She believed in QVC products with the zeal of a conspiracy theorist. If you question the legitimacy of a product, she'd erupt in its defense. My mom was wholeheartedly convinced that Super Smile toothpaste made our teeth 5 shades lighter, and Dr. Denise's beautiful complexion 3-piece skincare kit shaved 10 years off your face. So anywho, let me pop here because I want y'all to see my face. Let's do this. So this question number 1, again, I'll repeat it. My mother was always trying to shape me into the most perfect version of myself. What do Michelle's mother's habits and beliefs reveal about her as a mother? What do you value? What value do you see in her approach to parenting, and what would you do differently? I did not like that question. I thought it was a little rude. And I'm sure they didn't mean it to be that way. But I'm like, what do you mean what I would do differently? I am not an immigrant Korean woman raising a half Korean white child in a predominantly white space, trying to figure out how to teach her about her culture and help her fit in. And I think what maybe Michelle didn't realize at the time when she was going through all this, and whoever wrote that question, is how Michelle's mother's culture was influencing some of these things that look weird to the Western or American eye. For those of you who might not be aware, Korean culture values beauty, and their skincare game is on par. Like dermatologists say, if you need to get a sunblock, get a Korean brand. You can't go wrong. They tell that to everybody. The BB cream that some of y'all like, that's Korean. They do have a lot of steps in their skincare regime. A lot of steps to us, but to them, it's not a big deal. And I think that some of the things that her mother did might seem obsessive to people or weird and superficial, but she's a Korean woman, doing things from a Korean perspective, like Michelle being too short. Koreans value long legs. You can have a short torso, but if you have nice long legs, that's considered beautiful in Korea. Nice flawless skin is considered beautiful in Korea. So is being pale and light skin. That's considered very beautiful. And so I think her mother was just wanting her to fit in, wanting her daughter to have the best in life. Also, those kind of things can affect your prospects in Korea, your job, your romantic prospects, friends, all kind of connections and things like that. So I honestly don't think that Michelle's mother meant any harm. I just think that she was doing her best as a first generation. Wait, would she be first generation? No, she's an immigrant. Michelle's first gen. As an immigrant to a completely new country, there are some things that you are not going to be shaken off. There are some things that as Americans, we are not even realizing that we're doing because it's so ingrained in us. And those type of things are ingrained in her. I bet you from the pictures that I have seen of Michelle's mother, the first album that Michelle put out is called Psychopomp. We'll get to that a little bit later. It has her mother on the cover of the album. That skin looks great. The skin looks good. And again, I just think that's part of Korean culture. And I didn't like it. What would I do differently? I'd mind my business. I wouldn't be in somebody else's face trying to tell them how to raise their child unless they were abusing them. Other than that, it's none of my business. And I just thought that question was a bit rude. And maybe they didn't mean it that way, but also because I have been exposed a lot to Korean culture and Koreans. I grew up in an international Buddhist organization, and there were people from all over the world. There were definitely a lot of Koreans and Japanese people. And so I've been exposed. I am by no means an expert, but I can understand where some of these things are coming from. And I can also understand why it might look a little odd to people from outside the culture. But yeah, I didn't like that first question, but that's okay. I'm gonna quit saying it. I've said it enough. Okay, so let's move on to question number 3. Here, I'll pop it up on the screen so y'all can see it. I keep using the and not the mouse. Okay, so number 3, H-Marts and local supermarkets are a regular setting in the book. How do these locations shape Michelle's experience of food and family? So first of all, H-Mart is a really awesome store. If you guys ever get a chance to go, I hope that you do. And in Korean, H-Mart means an armful of groceries. And so I just wanted to kind of point that out. Also, H-Mart doesn't just sell Asian food. It sells international foods too. The main bulk of all the products and things are going to be Asian brand names, but these are business people. And once they realize, hey, there's a lot of other people in different countries who eat different foods other than Westerners, and they don't have access to their cultural foods. So let's give them access. Anyway, if you've never been, I think the closest that we have is going to be in Colorado Springs. I think it's called Pacifica Market. I can't remember, but it's the Asian food store in Colorado Springs. You'll see all kind of people from different countries at that one too. So these locations, when Michelle, she's written several articles, several essays in Vogue and Glamour about going to H-Mart after her mom died and seeing the food courts there and crying because she can't sit with her mother anymore. So she's looking around and she's seeing all these people interact with their mothers. She describes a young Korean boy sitting with, and I say boy, he's about 21, sitting with his mom and her kind of fussing over him and kind of babying him or treating him like a child, telling him how to sit and what foods to eat and why aren't you eating more of this particular thing and so on and so forth. And at the time when her and her mother used to go, it used to annoy Michelle, but now that her mother is passed in the specific article I'm talking about, she misses that. And you know, she even says a little bit, how come they get to have their mother and I don't get to have mine? And so I really think that H-Mart is a location that helped Michelle's mother keep her cultural ties. And then once Michelle's mother had passed, it helped Michelle keep ties to her mom. And I cannot remember her mom's name. I am so sorry, y'all. She wrote it in the front of the book, but I don't read Korean. And she put it right here. That's her name, but I don't read Korean. I can't speak Korean. I think it's Chung, but I don't think that's right. I'm so sorry, Michelle's mommy. Let me see if I can find it in here. I can't find it. That's okay. We're going to say Michelle's mom. And you know what? That's really funny because in the book, Michelle talks about how the mothers are referred to by the children's name. So it'll be Michelle's mom or Connie's mom or so. So it kind of goes along with the theme, although I forgot this lady's name and I am so sorry, Miss Michelle's mommy. Anywho, H-Mart helps people maintain their cultural connections through food and community. Because even if it's a smaller H-Mart, even the store up in Colorado Springs, they have a food court. You can get roasted duck. You can get dim sum. You can get all kind of banchan. It's delicious. I hope y'all get a chance to go. Okay, let's see. Let's go to question number 4 really quickly. Oh, hang on. Let me pop it back up. Because I have my notes version and then I have my what you call it. Let's pop it in here and do this. All right, question number 4. Discuss the difficulty of communicating with family members of different generations who speak another language and come from a different culture. How do Michelle and Nami bridge this divide? So Nami is Michelle's aunt. Michelle would take trips to Korea with her mother all the time, yearly trips. And Nami is one of her aunts. She lost one of her aunts to cancer and actually her grandmother as well. So after Michelle's mom died, Nami and Michelle grew closer because each of them was looking for something in the other one. Like, so Nami would comment on how Michelle sounded like her mother when she spoke Korean and could kind of see her mother in Michelle's face. And Michelle felt the same about Nami as far as, you are my last connection to my mother. You grew up with her. You knew her. And so they each were looking for, well, Nami was looking for her sister and Michelle was looking for her mother. And they didn't get exactly what they want, but they got a version of it. And I really think that it helped them not only to heal, but to get closer to one another as well. One of the ways that they would do this is Nami's son would translate because he does speak English, but sometimes, you know, he would get tired or he wasn't there. So they would use Google Translate and talk to each other back and forth because Michelle doesn't speak fluent Korean. They would also do it through food and memories and pictures and things like that. So I think that even if there is a language barrier, you can still create community. You can still connect to the people around you. And also, it kind of reminded me of, guess what time it is? It's time for Lovely to talk about her grannies because she really loves them. My grandmother, Bertha, was from East Texas, Hawkins, East Texas. And if you've ever been out there, or even if you've ever seen King of the Hill, y'all know that character Boomhauer. Well, the people in East Texas talk just like that. Just like that. It's like double Dutch trying to listen to them. It's like they're speaking another language. They are speaking English. I promise you, no matter how not English it sounds like. Oh, let me take my name tag off because it's the green screen. There we go. How not English it sounds, it's definitely English. And so sometimes I would have a hard time understanding my grandmother until I got the double Dutch, because as a child coming from Denver and going to East Texas, it was speaking two different languages. And I didn't have a Texas accent like I do now. So I really had a hard time understanding her. And I would listen and, take time. And we found ways to communicate too. And some of it was through food. So I really found that part fascinating because I have experience with it. Also, like I said, growing up in that international Buddhist organization, a lot of the members did not speak fluent English when they first got there. And so we would communicate through prayer, food, and our activities as well. So it definitely can be done. And I'm really glad that Michelle and Nami found a way to do that to help them work through their grief. All right. So let's move on to question number 5. Music has been a key element of Michelle's life. How does the music that she listens to relate to the events in her life? What playlist would you put together for her family? So, music did play a huge role for Michelle and in her life. A lot of the stories are around how she wanted a guitar. She went to go see the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. I believe it was the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. It might have been another group. But they definitely had a half white, half Asian, half Korean singer. And Michelle could really relate to her. So anyway, if I was making a playlist for Michelle's family, I would do it as follows. A Place to Belong by Little Dragon. Little Dragon's lead singer is half Japanese and white. And for a lot of people, you might not know this term. I think she mentions it in the book. It just could be something I picked up on. But if somebody is white and Asian, they're called Wasian. If somebody is black and Asian, they're called Blasian. Now, with black folks, I don't know if white folks do this, but with black folks, if we know the specificity of your country and where your Asian parent comes from, we'll blend that too. So I have heard people in the Buddhist community say that they were Blackanese because they're black and Japanese, or Borean because they're black and Korean. I don't think a lot of the other countries, I don't think they make words as well, like black and Vietnamese. What would that be? Vietnamese? I don't know. So sometimes they'll just say Blasian. Anywho, but Place to Belong by Little Dragon. Nobody by Mitski. If you've ever heard that song, it's beautiful and haunting and sad. I think Mitski might be white and Korean too. Mitski, if you're just Korean, I'm sorry, girl. I didn't mean to give you some heritage that you didn't ask for or don't even have. There's this really, really cool band. It is a Korean band. They sing in Korean, and they play like a fusion of Korean folk music with modern. It sounds like Talking Heads to me. And the band's name is Lee Nalchi. And the song that I would play for put on this list for them would be Tiger Is Coming. It's about this ferocious tiger coming down from the mountain. The whole album, I think the album is called Sagunga. It came out in 2020. And I'm sorry, y'all. I don't mean to butcher that name. My Korean is nil. Zip. Nada. Nothing. Other than if I'm asking for some food, I can say food names, but that's about it. Like I can say kimchi jjigae and bibimbap. But again, I'm not starving. I know how to ask for food in lots of different languages. Anywho, that whole album I really like. It talks about Korean folklore. There's songs about tiger, rabbit, salmon, eagle, and it sounds like the Talking Heads to me. I don't know if they listen to a bunch of it. It's really cool stuff. The next one I would say is Papa Can You Hear Me from the Yentl soundtrack by Miss Barbara Streisand, because that's a song that Michelle and her mom or that Michelle found in her mom's car. They would be, singing Celine Dion and stuff too sometimes. Another one, Papa is a Rolling Stone. That's for her daddy, because just like the Temptation said, he was always had his foot in the road and was not as faithful to her mom as he could have been. Cranes in the Sky by Solange, because that's about dealing with depression, and Michelle definitely had a lot of that. Also, so did her dad. He didn't deal with it too well, and I think maybe her mama a little bit too. Road to Nowhere by the Talking Heads, again, because it's an upbeat song about getting nowhere fast and still doing your best and trying. We Are Family by Sister Sledge, because Michelle was able to find her family, or have found family, but also her mother's side of the family were very close to one another and loved each other a lot. And as we find out, after Michelle's mother died, her aunt Nami starts talking to her about the music that her and her mother would listen to. So I thought that would be appropriate. Hard Times by Paramore, because Michelle's mother was the glue that held the family together, and after she was gone, Michelle and her dad had a hard time connecting. They were afraid that they weren't going to be able to connect to one another. Thank you for the like. Thank you for, I don't know who that was, but thank you so much for the like. Let me check these comment sections. Anywho, so I really think that it was really hard for them after her mother passed, his wife passed away, because he was so busy working all the time, and he had his own issues, which we'll get into in the next couple of questions. And again, what do you do when the glue is gone? Do things hold together, or don't they? Michelle and her father definitely had found that out afterward. Everything in Its Right Place by Radiohead. Michelle talks a lot about how her mother never looked out of place. We just got done discussing that question. She talks about how all her outfits were perfect. The house was immaculate. She was always fussing at Michelle and her father because they were dirtying up the house in some way that they couldn't see, but her mother definitely could, and told them about it. So I thought that would be appropriate. Molasses by Hiatus Coyote, because things got sticky and they got stuck. Just like molasses can. You remember that old Candyland commercial, don't get stuck in molasses swamp? They got stuck in molasses swamp. So I thought that would be good. Warrior from the, what's that show? Wrinkle in Time, from the Wrinkle in Time soundtrack by Chloe and Halle. Michelle really had to fight a lot to be there for her mother as she was dying in front of them. Fight for her career, fight for a relationship with her father, fight to not succumb to all this grief that she was going to fight, to find her identity, fight to find a place where she belonged, fight to carve her own way. So I think that was a really good choice too. And then lastly, Someday I'll Get It by Alec Olson. For those of you on TikTok, it's that song that it's on my FYP. Maybe it ain't trending for you, but it's a song that people play when they're talking to you about how their dogs died. And the first line is, I think of you every day now that you're gone. And that really encompasses how much Michelle missed her mother once she was gone. Michelle's mom passed away when she was 24 or 25. That is super young for your mommy to die. especially as I was gonna say especially as a young woman, anybody, child, woman, young man, non-binary person. That's just really, really young for your parents to die. Even though you're 24 and you're technically adult, no, you're not. You're not. You are not an adult. You're not ready. You still need your parents' advice. You still, Michelle was talking about when she was trying to cook Korean food, she could just call her mom up and say, "Hey, what kind of soy sauce do we use? What's our favorite brand of I don't know, fish sauce or something?" She couldn't just do that anymore. It's not like she could call her dad. He didn't do any of the cooking, so he didn't know. He can't even read Korean. So, and she couldn't just call her auntie because Korea is in like 18 different time zones. She can't just do that. So, yeah, I thought that was good, and it's a sad song, and she was definitely sad and going through it like anybody would be after their mother passed. So, all right, you know what? Too, let's move on to question number 6 because we're finna get into this. I'm surprised I got this list from the book publisher. I think it is who published this book, y'all. Let me see. Is it Knopf? Yeah, Alfred Knopf. That's where I got it from. I think it's Penguin is a subsidiary. Anyway, that is neither here nor there. Number 6. Let's pop it up so y'all can see it a little bit better. Food is a prominent motif throughout the memoir. How does the author use various food references to anchor you to specific locations, memories, and cultures? Which foods in the book were the most memorable to you and why? Okay, so one of the foods that was the most memorable to me was the pine nut porridge. It's usually something that Korean folks will make for people who were sick and couldn't digest a lot of things because it has a lot of protein in it. And Michelle wanted to make it for her mother, but she didn't know how. She didn't have all the cooking skills. And just to put it out there, I mean, I can cook now. I can cook pretty much anything. But at 24, I was still developing my own repertoire, and I was trying to come into my own. Even though I grew up cooking in my household, I really feel like I didn't get really, really good as a cook until maybe my later 20s. Anywho, Michelle talks about in this book how she found this lady on YouTube named Mongchi. And I was just like, I love Mongchi. And she was like, I want to make this meal. One of the caregivers named Ki made it for Michelle's mother, but she wouldn't show Michelle how to make it. We'll get to Ki in just a second. But I wanted to talk about Mongchi because, dun, dun, dun. Oh, wait, can you see Mongchi? This is Mongchi. And at the time, this book wasn't out, but she could go on YouTube and she could follow Mongchi. Mongchi would tell her, this is the brand you want. This is what the packaging looks like. And even in this book, you can see all the ingredients, but also, let me see if I can get to some of these things. She has pictures of the packaging. Hang on. Because again, if you can't read Korean, it's really hard to shop in those stores. You need somebody you like this this pepper right here. Hang on. There we go. I had to pull it back. I'm sorry. This pepper right here is called gochujang or gochugaru. It is dried Korean pepper flakes. I can't read a lick of what that says, but I know that's what it is because people like Mongchi got on the internet and started making recipes. And this is the first one that I requested from the library to be brought in. Y'all can request up to 5 books. Oh, hang on. You can't see me. There we go. Y'all, you can request up to 5 books every single month. They're called purchase requests from the library. And that's how we got that first one. Hang on, y'all. There we go. And that's how we got this one in. Because I said, Mongchi got a book. She's got a book. And so you can literally Follow along on YouTube, and in this book she'll have you a shopping list and everything. And it's just a beautiful way that she helped people connect to their culture. So Michelle was able to follow Mangchi's recipe step by step by step. In the later chapters of the book, that's exactly what she does. She starts making kimchi from scratch and fermenting it in different ways and learning how to do all this cooking that caregivers really weren't teaching her how to do. And because because I was about to say Mangchi, because Michelle's mother was sick and gone, she never got around to doing it either. So Mangchi came to the rescue with her YouTube channel and with these cookbooks too. So I would say that the most prominent in the food in the book for me was that porridge, because I knew Mangchi before I knew Michelle read that book. She didn't really talk about bibimbap. That's my favorite Korean food. That's one of the first things I started making was bibimbap. It's delicious. It's got a lot of vegetables and meat, and you chop them up and you put it on the rice. It's so good. But my family's favorite Korean thing that I make is kimchi jjigae, which is jjigae is the Korean word for stew. You can make it vegan if you want to, and it tastes delicious that way. You can just put tofu. I prefer it with some pork belly, y'all. And there's a recipe for that in Mangchi. You can find it on the internet too. If you're wanting to make it a vegan version, you need to follow Mommy Tang. Tang, Mommy Tang's recipe. It's on YouTube. She'll teach you how to make it and walk you through it step by step so you can watch her. One thing that Michelle talks about with Koreans when she was talking to her mom is that they really don't follow recipes. There's no half a cup of this and, a third of this. It's really like, I don't know, put it in until the water covers up your hand, or put enough sesame oil till it tastes like mommy's. And in the Black community, we always say we keep adding seasoning until we hear our ancestors say, that's enough, baby. That's enough. So I definitely understand about cooking without a recipe, because that's how my people cook too. You got to watch in the kitchen. But with people like Mangchi, you can get a recipe. And it will taste authentic. Y'all know what too? If I remember, I'll put her YouTube channel, or at least type it in the comment section, because you're definitely gonna want to try a few of these recipes. It's so good. All right, let's move on to the next question. Let's talk about Key. Since we were talking about how Key wouldn't share that recipe. Is it Key or Kai? I think it's Kai. I think that's how you say it. Okay, so number 8. Do you see Kai's action as brazen and callous, or are there aspects that are considered acceptable given her expertise? How do her actions compare to other stories or experiences of caregiving? So Kai was one of the community members that helped during Michelle's mom's I was going to say convalescence, but that's not right. They helped take care of her while she was doing chemo and dying, because the first chemo session was really, really bad. But let's just talk about Kai a little bit. And I wanted to not necessarily talk about her in reference to question number 8, although we will get into it. But I want to talk about the dysfunctional fathers that Kai had, that Michelle's mama had, and that Michelle's dad had too, and how that affected all of them. So Kai was raised by her father's mistress. He took his baby from his first wife and gave her to his mistress and said, hey, raise her. And so that's what they did. I guess he abandoned his first wife, had Kai raised by a mistress. And then when he found another woman, he abandoned Key. I keep saying Kai. We're going to say Kai. He abandoned Kai with his mistress. And the mistress never told Kai that she was not her birth mother, although Kai figured it out. She just raised her like she was her own. And so when the mistress got cancer and was dying, Kai nursed her, took care of her until she died. Um, and I think that the woman never told, but it didn't matter to Kai. That was her mama. And so Kai's husband and her got together, and it was an affair. So she never had any children, and his children never accepted her. With Michelle's mother, her father abandoned their family. He was a voice actor, and he just abandoned their family to pursue his career. And then Michelle's father, he grew up in a very abusive household. His father was abusive, and he couldn't form bonds with his brothers and sisters. The brothers were abusive. So there was a lot of dysfunction going on. And so when they asked, do you see Kai's action as brazen and callous? Without that background, yes, you could see it as brazen and callous. But what was going on was she was kind of edging out Michelle and her father, because Michelle's mother, due to the chemo and the pain, would sometimes forget and just start speaking in Korean, a language her father and her don't know, but Kai did. It just made it easier, Also, she was there for more than 3 weeks, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, away from her husband who lived in Georgia. And she just knew Korean culture way better than either Michelle or her father did. And I think it might have been a way that she was trying to redeem herself, perhaps, because she did have an affair with the man and broke up his marriage. And his kids were so awful to her. She had to go to, do I say sanitarium? Is that proper? I don't want to be rude, but she had a nervous breakdown, and so she had to go to the hospital. And to be quite honest, if my child didn't do that for me, or was all cozying up on my partner's affair partner, I'd come back and haunt them. So I'm not even mad at those kids, because what are they supposed to do? Disrespect their mother because their father forgot his commitments, and embrace his wife, or his new wife who he was cheating on their mother. She wouldn't have got no warm welcome from me either. So I don't really feel sorry for her in that regard. I do feel sorry for how she was brought up and why that's probably why she acts certain way. There's a lot of abandonment going on for all three of them. And I think sometimes, even if there's not that going on, sometimes some caregivers get a savior complex and think that their way is the right way and are more interested in being considered a do-gooder than actually helping, I would say. Anyhow, some of the things that Kai did were a little out there, but I can understand why they happened. And to be quite honest, Michelle's daddy should have learned Korean. I mean, he just should have. Excuse me, how are you going to bring this woman all the way across the world and move her to a spot in the world where there aren't that many Koreans? Like, you could have moved her to San Francisco or somewhere where they had a Koreatown, but you didn't. So, anywho, let me not get in this man. That ain't my daddy. I'm mad at him, but that ain't my daddy. So, let's move on to the next question. Let's see here. Just to Kai's, I can see why other people saw Kai's actions as callous, and I just think she was struggling, she was hurting, she was going through a lot. And in the book they talk about that a little bit. It doesn't exonerate some of the things that she was doing. I think she just got too comfortable and started to try to take over a little bit. I don't know if she was planning on trying to become the second wife after Kai's mom died, even though she was married. I don't want to say once a cheater, always a cheater, but anywho, next question. We're going to move to the next question. Let's see. Ooh, it's almost 5. I've been talking for a long time. I'm going to try to wrap it up in the next 10, 15 minutes here, y'all. I appreciate y'all's time. I really like this book. I bet you can tell I enjoyed it quite a bit because I have so much to say about it. Let's see. I think we're moving to the next slide. So let's see. Question number. Let's answer question number 13. Compare Michelle's relationship with her father and her aunt before and after her mother's death. How have they grown closer or farther apart? To what extent do blood ties matter? So I would say that before the death of her mother, Michelle's relationship with her father was contentious a little bit. They loved each other. I think they could bond over each other for their Americanness and how sometimes their mother, the wife mother, did things that they both found odd because they were both American. And her aunt was definitely more of an aunt. I think after the death, she came more of like a mother figure, and a connection to help celebrate and remember her mother. Now, the opposite happened between Michelle and her father after her mother died. They took a trip to Vietnam, a 2-week trip. They ended up fighting on the trip. They were up under each other's feet. They were dealing with grief in their own way. And Michelle talks about this a couple of times throughout the book. She thinks her dad has a bit of yellow fever. And she's not sure how she feels about that. She thought that he was acting like a typical white American, and it was embarrassing her sometimes. And they're estranged to this day. He sold their house and moved to Thailand and married somebody who was just a few years older than Michelle. That would have given me the ick too, girl. Woo, that would have given me the ick. Not necessarily the remarrying, because, life goes on. Now the Beatles song is stuck in my head. But hey, you marrying somebody that's my age, ew. Ew, brother, ew. What is that? Ew, brother. So I don't know if they've reconciled. I doubt it, but things change. It's 2024. What do I know? I don't know these people other than what she put in this book, but I do know one thing in the back of the book. Everybody got an acknowledgement. Mongchi got an acknowledgement. Her daddy didn't. Her daddy didn't get one. I don't know what that man did, but he did not get an acknowledgement in the back of that book. I know that much. There was something I wanted to talk about. I skipped it. I think it was beauty standards. Let's go back to that. All right, because we do have a little bit more time. Let me pop over here and we're going to go back to these beauty standards. Okay. So question number 9. Michelle touches on various incidents of racism and alienation throughout her life and discusses both idealizing whiteness and fearing that she is not Korean enough. What does this reveal about the complications of growing up mixed race and with Asian heritage in America? How does it compare to an Asian American representation and access to opportunities today? So, and then question number 10, I think we can combine it. Let's just do that. According to Michelle, beauty is an intrinsic part of Korean culture. How has this shaped her upbringing and family dynamic? Discuss your own beauty standards and what you consider beautiful. So, question number 9, when she's talking about idealizing whiteness and thinking she's not Korean enough. There is some complications growing up mixed race and with Asian heritage in America. Again, I grew up in an international Buddhist organization. Part of the reason why my mom joined it is because she was trying to connect to her Japanese heritage. Her mother was half Japanese. Wait, is that right? Yes, I think it's half. She's half. My mom was an eighth, and I'm a teeny tiny bit. I know when you look at me, you can't see nobody with Japanese ancestry, but it's there. But I'm not mixed race in the same way that Michelle is by any means. I'm just Black. And a lot of Black people have a similar story as far as genotype is concerned than I do. Clearly, my phenotype is Black. You ain't gonna mistake me for nothing but a Black woman, and I am so grateful for that. But I do have a whole bunch of other ancestry in me. but I'm not mixed in any more than anybody else. But from what I have been told from the people in that International Buddhist Organization, and just from some of my friends with mixed race heritage, is that they always feel like they're caught in the middle, like they are not enough of one thing for this group of people and not enough for this folks, but everybody always sees them as other and expects them to know about this culture. And y'all need to leave these babies alone. If y'all don't let these people be mixed, let them be mixed. They exist in a middle space, but y'all have got to give these people their space, because you did combine two cultures and create something new. So rather than forcing people who are Black and Korean or Black and whatever to just identify as Black, if you don't let them people identify as mixed race, because their Black experience is definitely not the same as mine. We've talked about this before in other books, but in America and other Western cultures, the closer you are to whiteness, the better you get treated, the less you have to deal with some aspects of white supremacy, although that is an aspect of white supremacy, the less you have to deal with a lot of the things that Black folks do. And I'm not trying to say that mixed race people don't experience discrimination, because they absolutely do. It's just a different experience from what I go through. And I think part of that is that when you're looking at Michelle, if you don't know what to look for and you're looking at her, she looks Korean to me. But Korean people look at her and they can tell right away that's a hafu. I mean, that's what Japanese people call them. I don't know what the word for mixed with white is in Korea, but if a Japanese person is white and Japanese, they're gonna get called hafu, and probably a lot worse names too. If that's offensive to some of y'all, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be offensive. Somebody tell me in the comments so I can quit being mean. But that's what I heard all the time. Growing up, oh, that so-and-so's hafu, so-and-so. So if that's not what y'all are saying anymore, just gently correct me and I'll stop being nasty or on here. I don't mean to be. But anywho, people who know what to look for can look and see if somebody is mixed or not. And instead of trying to force these people into either or, let them be both. Let them be both. I mean, demographics are changing all the time, and there are so many combinations that are coming up. They're gonna people I'm multi-ethnic. If you want to be honest about it, I'm multi-ethnic right now. I just mainly be claiming my favorite one, which is being Black. I love being Black. That's my favorite thing. But for people who literally, because both of my parents are Black, even though there's some other stuff in there, I didn't have one non-Black parent and a Black parent. So that's why I keep emphasizing this, because it's a different experience when you do. I don't feel lost or in between cultures at all, like a lot of these folks do. And it's not necessarily their parents' fault per se, because they can only do so much, and maybe some parents could have did more, did a better job of connecting them to both of their heritage. But society can be kind of mean. Michelle talked about in the book quite a bit, people coming up to her and going, what are you? What are you? Are you Japanese? And she say, no. Are you Chinese? She say, no. And then they'd be like, well, then what are you? And it's like, baby, y'all need to pick up a book, an atlas, and learn all the different countries, because clearly you can see she's Asian, but you didn't miss out on the Cambodian, on the Thai, on the Korean, on the Vietnamese, on the Laotians. I mean, she could have been any of those, and that didn't occur to you because all you know is Chinese and Japanese, because you ain't never been nowhere and didn't read a book. Anywho, could have been Tibetan. I'm off topic a little bit. So beauty standards. Let's talk about that. Discuss your own beauty standards and what you consider beautiful. So as I have been displaying my heritage all up and down these live streams, I do not fit the standard American beauty. I do not. I never considered myself ugly. Other people try to tell me I was, but we all know that's a lie. I'm cute. I am adorable and cute. And in my community, one of the things that I think is the cutest, most beautiful thing you could have is a gap. If you can have a gap tooth, I ain't taking this mask off because I'm COVID conscious. The pandemic ain't over just because you over it. But anywho, in my community, one of the things that was the cutest thing was a gap tooth. Oh my gosh. I have straight teeth too. I ain't got no gap. It's a teeny tiny baby gap. It's not big. Sometimes people would say that's so the lies could get out in your teeth, but I think gaps are beautiful. I also think gold teeth are too. I think we might have discussed this because I was supposed to get one for my 50th birthday, but maybe I'll do it for my 60th. So I think that gap teeth are beautiful. I think that a button nose that pops out without that much of a bridge is beautiful. Full lips, thick thighs, and a very thick sit upon, and carrying a little bit extra weight than what standard beauty standards say is acceptable. I like thick people. I like to be thick. All the people in my family who I thought were the prettiest were what everybody else would consider fat. I don't know what to tell y'all. Y'all missing out. Anywho, so my beauty standards, because I do not fit the standard beauty standards, I never tried. I knew I was never going to be a skinny little white girl, so I never tried to be one. It never bothered me and never concerned me. And I am lovely in all my curviness and brown skinnedness. And so my beauty standards had to be different, or my self-esteem would be in the toilet. And if any of y'all ever met me, y'all know I have a healthy self-esteem. Y'all know I think I look cute regardless of what anybody says, and I am cute. And so I think because Michelle was living in Oregon, Eugene, Oregon is 90% white. She's surrounded by white people and didn't have a lot of connection with her Korean culture. She got told she was ugly. When she went to Korea, everybody would be like, oh my God, you're so cute. You're so cute. Your skin is so pale and you're so cute. And that's because that's what they value over there. They value pale skin. They value clear skin. She still has it. And she just couldn't see it because she was not surrounded by it. That's why representation is so important. That's why when you come into the libraries, we try to make sure that the displays are diverse, because it does make a difference. If you don't see yourself, then you will start to believe some of the lies that are being spread about people who look like you. You'll start to believe it. I'm so fortunate to have grown up in Black neighborhoods most of my life. And I got to see a variety of Black people, a variety of skin tones. And it really helped me to see that beauty could be found in so many different combinations, not just one or two. Nature abhors a vacuum. It's not just one kind of flower or one kind of tree. It ain't even one kind of bee. It's all kind of different bees. So there's going to be all kind of different people. And I really think that being exposed to that at such a young age and growing up in an international Buddhist community, I keep saying that because when I say international, it wasn't just Asian people, y'all. It was people from all over the world. I got to see it. I got to experience at a young age, which helped form a lot of my ideas about what could be beautiful and not. And I was very, very fortunate in that regard. And I wish more people had it too, because then y'all be able to see all the beauty that everybody else be seeing too. Anywho, last question. Let's see. Number 16. Yeah, let's go with this as the last question. I really like this one. Let me kick this slide here. Let's make it big so y'all can see. Number 16. What did you think of... Oh, hold on a second. Let's see what 17 is. You know what? Let's discuss number 7. You know what? No. I want to discuss it, but we can discuss it in the comment sections later, because I need to stop talking so my voice don't give out on me. All right, so number 16. What do you think of the ending and the ways that Michelle has chosen to commemorate her mother? Do you believe in a kind of fate that her mother is watching over her from beyond? Okay, so let's talk about it, all right? So the album that Michelle released the first album that Michelle released after her mom died was called Psychopomp. And a psychopomp is a spiritual being, a god or a demigod, if you will, that ferries the souls of dead people to the afterlife. So think of Anubis from the Egyptian pantheon, or the Morgan from the Celtic pantheon. Though they would make sure that the people who died, their souls got where they were supposed to go. And I really think that naming her album Psychopomp was a way of helping her mother's soul rest easy and get where it needed to go. And there's a part in the book where she talks about how she started to see success in her band, something that she had been struggling to do for about 10 years after her mom died. And she thought it was funny, at least I thought it was funny, that Michelle said she imagined that her mama was up in heaven with her foot on God's neck, talking about, you gonna give my baby this. You took me away. I can't bond with her. We can't in both of our formative years. So since I'm not there, I'm gonna keep my foot on your neck, and you're gonna give my baby this one thing that she wants, which is to have a successful band. And she does. So I think it's funny that the image of Michelle's mom having her foot on God's neck saying, you're going to get this to my baby, because that's probably exactly what's happening. I think also, too, in the book, Michelle talks about how her mother was not particularly religious. And for those of y'all who don't have a lot of experience with Korean culture, they can be very religious. If they're not Christian, they're going to be Buddhist. Or some combination of the two. And all the Koreans that I grew up around were Buddhist because we were Buddhist. So much so that we would have prayer meetings on Friday nights, because they knew after we left that prayer meeting, we were going to go out and party. And so they would pray over us. So when we went out and did the stupid things we was doing, we would come back alive. And they would feed us too, y'all. That's how I ate all that Korean food and that Japanese food. Because you go to them meetings, if a Korean woman is older than you and she offer you some food, you can't tell her no. She gonna say, take it home. You got friends? I don't want it. It's okay. No, take it home. If she's older than you, she gonna pull that age rank, and you just say, yes, ma'am. That's all you do. I have never figured out a way to refuse an older Korean woman's offer of food to me. You just take it and say thank you. And then you eat that chimchi jjigae, or the bibimbap, or the kimbap, whatever she give you, you finna eat it and like it, because it's gonna be good. Anywho, thank y'all so much. I really, really hope that you enjoyed this book. If you did not get a chance to read it, please make the time. You can actually listen to the audio book. I'm gonna return it right away. It's on Libby. I think it's about 8 hours or so. Michelle Zauner reads it. She's a really good narrator. You can definitely check the book out. We have several copies. I'm fixing to turn this one in so you could come and sit to Lamb and be like, hi, lovely. And then I would be like, hi, patron. If I don't know your name, I'd be like, hey, friend. And then give you this book because it's really, really well written. It's probably why she's gotten so many accolades for being such a good songwriter, because she's just a good writer in general. So definitely recommend this book. Also, I want to recommend some Monchi books, and go check out her YouTube so that you can get into this Korean cooking and Korean food. I mean, my goodness, y'all, there's soybean paste stew up in here, and soy buttered pan grilled chicken. I had not made any of that. But I done had some seaweed soup and stuff. That's delicious and yummy. What else? I think that is roughly it. Oh, let me go in here so we could talk about the next book that's coming up. Hold on. So we're done with the questions. If you really enjoyed Crying in H-Mart by Michelle Zauner, here's some other books that you might like that the library does carry. I actually have Interior Chinatown in my hand right now. I'm going to return it in case anybody wants to read it. But check out any of these books. There's it will give you more insight into some in cultures, Chinese and Korean and Vietnamese as well. We have all kind of books, but these specifically here carry some of the same themes that Crying and H-Mart do. And I would love to have you guys for next month's book club. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much, replay viewers. Thank you, thank you. I value everybody that comes and spends some time with me, whether it's on the live stream or on the replay. Next month, we will be meeting here on April the 18th at 4 p.m. to discuss the graphic novel Little Monarchs by Jonathan Case. It's for Earth Day. So let me show y'all my face, because I popped away. There I go. I heard you was looking for me. There I go. It is going to be a graphic novel, so it's not going to be available in audiobook, but it will be available in ebook. I hope that y'all can make it. I hope you enjoyed your time. Also, I hope that y'all check out Japanese Breakfast on Hoopla. There's a couple of albums from there. Michelle has a light, ethereal voice, and I hope you enjoy listening to it as much as I did, and as much as I enjoyed reading the book and discussing it with you here today. I will talk to you soon. If I don't see you until the next time, come stop by Lamb Library and say hi. If you can't get to Lamb, get to another library. Or you know what? Check out the e-library, because when we're closed, that's always open. I will see y'all next time. Thanks so much. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.